Hi, I'm Heidi, and I'm a domestic violence survivor.
Thanks for joining us today, Heidi. Can you please share your story about your past abusive situation?
Yes, my abuse started early in childhood, which led to an abusive marriage of 20 years. It was emotional and mental and sexual, um, and not so much physical. So I had a hard time identifying as a domestic abuse victim.
Can you explain what tactics your abuser used that made it so difficult for you to get out of the situation?
Financial control was a big one, isolation as well. It made it very difficult for me to go anywhere. I felt very trapped. I also had young children at home, and it was a lot to manage to figure out how to get us all out safely.
It must have been very scary when you were getting ready to leave. How did you manage that safely?
Because I wasn't able to go to the police, having not been physically abused, I decided that my plan was to slowly escape. I started putting money away silently. I started making a plan to move, finding a safe place, getting an attorney, um, having somebody that knew what was going on. Because honestly, I hid everything very well for a very long time. It was very hard for anybody to believe me, let alone imagine that that was going on in our home. So just having one safe person to call was extremely important.
What resources have helped you in your recovery?
Therapy, therapy, therapy. I I would see more than one therapist at a time. I tried different types of therapies from EMDR to trauma informed therapy, IFS, and somatic therapy. I had a lot of trauma that was stored in my body, and all of those things combined helped me on my path to recovery.
How do you feel abusive relationships affect a woman's sexuality?
I would say, how don't they? Because I was emotionally abused, mentally abused, and sexually abused. They all work together. So, what that looked like for me was being body shamed. My appearances were shamed. I was told things like I wasn't good in bed. All these things took away my self worth, and ultimately, I didn't know myself anymore, and I couldn't connect to myself in that way anymore. There was no intimacy. There was no, I'd say, compassion or passion. And there was no consent. So they all work together to keep me bound.
Looking back from then to now, you must be very proud of how far you've come. What does your future look like?
My future has been so amazing. It's been almost 4 years now that I've left. I've always been an entrepreneur and a successful businesswoman, but this journey has led me on a path I never expected. Um, when I left not only my relationship but my hometown, I left my house, I left everything I knew. I was packing my home, and I took down my wedding portrait from the wall, and I looked at it, and I promised myself that I would replace it with a beautiful photo of myself. And so the first thing I did when I relocated to the Midwest was book a boudoir photography session. And it was really the first thing I had ever done for myself. It was the first time that I felt beautiful and confident again. And I realized that, oddly enough, lingerie was a very important way for me to reconnect to myself. And so I've opened my own lingerie store here in Chicago. I focus on mostly women owned businesses, small designers that I can build a relationship with. Honestly, most of them know my story and we've become friends. That's been very important to me to have them on my side. And it's a creative expression for them as well. So I find brands from all over the world, usually small and unknown, and it really gives me a lot of passion every day to do this for a living.
Thank you so much, Heidi, for sharing your story. That was great.
Thank you.